So as you can see from the title of this video, that we're going to talk about the baby's second day of life and what to expect on that second day. I guess basically we'll talk about what to expect on day 1 and day 2. We're also going to incorporate growth spurts into this discussion in this video, just because growth spurts, the days that the baby will experience growth spurts, their behavior is going to be very similar to their behavior on day 2 of life, so when they're 2 days old. So basically, to get right into it, when the baby is born, that first hour after birth, you always hear lactation consultants, counselors, breastfeeding peer counselors, and so forth talk about that magical hour, which is that special time right after delivery where you put your baby skin to skin to your chest, and you allow your baby to basically breastfeed on their own. You kind of just let them crawl to the breast and latch on their own. And usually they will do this in stages. So you put them to the chest. They may seem as if they're sleeping or resting. Sometimes their eyes will be open, sometimes they'll be closed. They may rest a little bit, move around, smell you a little bit, move their hands. Eventually they begin to crawl and move over to the breast, and they will latch. And again, this takes anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half. All of this depending on if there's anything that that intervenes with that time. So if something happens that takes that baby away from you, it might take them a little longer when you do finally get them skin to skin. So they're pretty much awake for that first hour or so. After that, the first day, they tend to just sleep. They sleep a lot on day 1. And so this is really your day to really rest and recuperate from delivery and labor for you. And then every time the baby makes noises, every time the baby wakes, you're going to practice feeding on that day 1. So a lot of times, you might feel like you have to worry about the baby feeding. But really, when the baby is born, their stomach is just the size of a marble. They are born with fat stores to hold them over until your milk increases on day 3 or 4 or 5. And what little milk they need on day 1 is very, very minimal. It's only about 1/4 teaspoon. So you're only looking for 1 diaper in that entire 24 hours. So you're going to allow them to rest, and you're going to use that opportunity to rest and then also to practice breastfeeding. So every time they wake, and if you do a lot of skin to skin during that first day, you'll be able to know when they're kind of awake, and you can put them to the breast and practice breastfeeding. During days 1 to 3, you want to breastfeed on both breasts, especially days 1 to 3. The first couple of weeks as well, you'll want to breastfeed them on both breasts, but you'll want to allow them to feed as long as possible on one breast before you switch them to the second side. If they are able to breastfeed for as long as possible on one breast, we know that they're going to empty that breast. Now, back to days 1 and 2. On day 2, which tends to happen overnight, it feels like it's at nighttime that this starts, but the baby then wakes up. And when they wake up, they are just very unhappy. They, whether it's the lights are too bright, it's too cold, it's too hot. Everything is new. The environment, everything about what where they've been for the past 9-10 months is gone. The sound of your voice is different. They're not hearing the heartbeat, they're in fluid. I mean, everything is different. They open their mouth and eat whenever they want to. Now, food is not, they don't open their mouth and food is there. Just their whole entire life has just changed overnight. And so that day 2, they can be very, very fussy. So what you really want to do on day 2 is be prepared to breastfeed very often, to hold your baby skin to skin very often, and to have your spouse or your partner, whoever's there with you, your support person, to hold the baby as well. The baby may breastfeed a lot, but it isn't just the feeding, that it's not just that they're hungry, it's more of a soothing, comforting thing to them to feed, to suck. So a lot of times you'll put them to the breast and they'll suck and then they'll fall asleep. At least that's what you think. You lay them down, they wake up, start crying, you put them back to the breast. They wake up, you lay them down, they wake up, you start crying, so it's like this constant, they won't sleep. All they want to do is breastfeed and be held. And so that's what you want to expect to do on day 2, is just hold your baby and breastfeed. And when you're breastfeeding, this is good because this is triggering the hormones, letting the body know we need the milk to increase and change and be ready, within a few days. So allowing that baby on day 2 to feed as often as possible will allow your milk to come in or to increase in volume by day 3. With C-sections, it tends to go a little longer than that, but usually it's around day 3 that your milk will come in or increase. So on day 2, expect your baby to be very, very fussy and to just want to breastfeed, and there's nothing wrong with that. On day 2, you're only looking for 2 wet diapers and probably a stool in there maybe, but you're not looking for more than that. They may go through more than 2 diapers, but on day 2, all you're looking for is 2 diapers. Now, a lot of times because of this constant crying and wanting to be held and the constant nursing, moms think, well, I don't have my milk, so the baby is probably starving, and they go grab a bottle. But by doing that, we can delay our milk from coming in. We can affect our milk coming in, and we don't want to do that. They are not starving. It's just a bad day. Now, this moves us right into growth spurts. This bad day will then get better, but every 2 weeks, starting at 10 to 14 days old, and then every 2 weeks after that, so usually 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, another big one at 3 months, and then another big one at 6 months. It can last a day or 2 where the babies, all they want to do is be held, all they want to do is nurse, and yet they seem angry at the breast. They're pulling at it, pushing it away, crying, and you will find sometimes that they're nursing and you can feel like your breast is empty, and that is okay. That is them. Number 1, they do feel a little bit of pain and discomfort, so they want to suck, and that's comforting to them. They are adjusting your supply, trying to increase your supply with them as they grow. So by allowing them to breastfeed as much as they want, on those days, those growth spurts, you're allowing them to increase your milk supply. Especially if you allow them to breastfeed even when your breast is empty, because this lets the body know we need to make more. This was not enough. We need more. So like day 2, growth spurts will happen, and you want to be prepared for them and not give a bottle. If you give a bottle, what ends up happening is the body was being told to make more milk, but instead the baby now gets a bottle. That milk sits in their stomach for 2 to 3 days. It takes a while for that to digest. So by the time that digests, it's still sitting in their stomach for those 3 days. The next time they go to feed, they're going to take less milk from your breast because they still have milk sitting in their belly. So now any milk left over in your breast, your body thinks the baby didn't need it, so it stops making it. So instead of increasing the supply, your body's now decreasing the supply when all we needed was for the supply to be increased. And so that's why it's important not to get a bottle out during these times, especially, so that you can allow and not interrupt that natural way of the baby increasing your supply as your baby grows. So that's just a little bit of information about day 1 and 2 and growth spurts. Just as a side note, when your milk does come in or increase, your breasts will feel full. They may feel warm, hot, hard to the touch, maybe very uncomfortable. This is very normal. Once your milk is adjusted, where the baby lets your body know how much it needs and how often it needs it, your breast will go back down to feeling normal, just like before you're pregnant, or even while you're pregnant, they will feel like a normal breast. It's only when it is time to feed that you'll feel your breast will feel fuller. And it's only when you miss a feed or the baby sleeps longer and misses their feed that your breast will start to feel uncomfortable. So the only time your breast should ever feel uncomfortable and painful is when a baby misses their feed. And we don't want that to happen. We want to always empty our breasts at least 8 to 12 times a day while our baby is, young and needing those feeds. So just something to note, that your breasts will feel full at first, and then they will go back to feeling normal and should not feel that full or that uncomfortable unless you're missing feeds. A lot of moms think they've lost their milk when the breasts go back to feeling normal, and they're like, okay, my breasts are empty, they're soft. And when they're not empty, you did not lose your milk. It's just now your body knows how much milk to make and when to make it and when to have it ready. And again, the only time it will get full and hard like that, again, is if you've missed feeds. If the baby has slept extra long and has missed a feed, then your breast will start to begin to feel uncomfortable. So that was just a little side note. I hope this information helps you guys, and I hope you're all doing well. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I don't make videos every week, but I try to put them out at least monthly. And being subscribed will make sure that you get notified when I put out a video. And also the little bell next to the subscribe button, if you click on that, you'll actually receive an email and a notification when I do put out a video. So you can check that as well. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.